Welcome back. Democrats are hoping to take back the House in Washington this November, and one of the seats they are hoping to flip is the one currently held by Republican Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar. Two Democrats are running to take on Salazar. We recently had Lucia Baez-Geller, and this morning we are joined by the other Democrat in the primary, former Key Biscayne Mayor Mike Davey. Mike, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
So there's a number of things I want to get to about why you're running and the rest of it, but one of the things that really caught my attention was you almost learned that you may not have been eligible to vote for yourself because you were deactivated from the voting rolls in what was clearly some sort of a screw-up by the elections department. So let's talk about that for a second. What happened?
So back in January, I saw a story somewhere online or on TV about people being purged from the rolls, right? We've seen what the Republicans have done in Tallahassee to make it more difficult to register, make it more difficult to vote. So I went online and I heard something about Democrats being, more Democrats being removed than Republicans. So I thought, oh, let me just look into this. I've been in the same home for 11 years. I've been voting since I moved to Florida 21 years ago. I've been registered in the same precinct. So I went and checked, and sure enough, I had been deactivated as a Democrat, and my father, as a Republican, had not been, and he's only been there 3 years, same address, different apartment. So it was easy to reactivate myself, but I was curious as to why it happened. So we contacted the SOE, and they said there was some mistake with my address. So they had deactivated me in October of 23.
But you hadn't moved or anything.
No, I hadn't done anything.
And just to let you know, I did check to make sure that you had voted. Yep. Otherwise, because if you're not voting in every general election, sure, you can be deactivated. That's one of the things that the Republicans did was that trying to cull out some voters who don't vote on a regular basis. There's some suspicion as to whether or not that's intended to sort of target Democrats. And I'm not suggesting that Democrats were unduly targeted in your case like that, but it is a good reminder that people probably need to be checking to make sure they are still actively on the rolls before they show up and vote. And
that's right. Yeah, I think one of the reasons we're putting out the message now is to make sure people check. And again, this is for everybody across all parties. Everybody should be voting. It's important that people take part in the process, and I want to make sure that people understand that you could be removed and you would lose your right to vote. I mean, again, deactivation is just the first step, but we want to make sure people are able to vote.
All right, so let's get to the heart of it. You're running for Congress. You're running in the Democratic primary to take on Maria Elvira Salazar. Why are you running?
So, look, I've served 12 years as mayor and a council member on Key Biscayne, and I believe in getting things done for the people who put me in office. And the fact is, Maria Elvira Salazar has not been performing for this district, frankly. She's up there to perform political theater. She's not up there to do the work that we need done for Miami-Dade residents. You pointed out that she didn't vote for the infrastructure bill, and Miami-Dade is ground zero for infrastructure work. We've got a lot of work. You talk to anybody in any of the municipalities in my district, they all have major infrastructure projects that they need to do.
She takes credit for the projects,
correct,
hands out the big checks, but she actually had voted against the project.
That's right. Well, she voted against the bill. She voted against the funding, and that's critical. Look, I don't care what your party is, but you have to take care of your residents. You have to be there for them. It's policy before party. You've got to make sure your people are taken care of.
So let's talk about party. Up until 2018, you were a Republican.
Correct.
What made you switch?
Basically, Trump. I mean, the way the party moved over, the way the party started taking care of people. When I grew up, I was raised in a Republican household that was socially liberal, fiscally conservative. I believe in small government, always have. But what I saw in 2016 was people started to get away from the core beliefs of the Republican Party, which, the Republican Party supported ERA, right? We were people who supported voting rights. We supported people's rights to be Americans. And now what I was seeing at that time, and what I've continued to see, is that there's no longer that support in the MAGA Republican movement. There's certainly Republicans who still stand for those things. We've seen it in Washington. But my opponent, Maria Elvira Salazar, doesn't believe in those things.
So obviously one of the major issues in this race may be abortion.
Correct.
So what is your position as it relates to abortion?
I fully support Amendment 4, and I believe that we need to codify Roe v. Wade when I get to Washington.
I guess what I'm curious about is what do you see as what differentiates you from, let's deal with the primary first, before you get to the general election. What differentiates you from Lucia Baez-Geller?
So I think there are two things. First, I am a former Republican, as you pointed out, so I can reach out to those voters. The fact is, this district is going to require, it's a one-third district. So in order to win, we're going to have to bring people over from the Republican Party. We're going to have to bring independents over. I'm already doing that in our campaign. Folks I'm talking to who are Republicans are coming over and supporting us. People are changing their party affiliations to vote for us in the primary. And moreover, I have the experience. You know, I can deal with the infrastructure issues. Key Biscayne, we've been leading on a lot of this, the sewer, septic to sewer programs, the stormwater programs, beaches, environmental issues. We've been leaders in that, and I've been proud to be a part of that. And so I can take that and get that work done in Washington when I get there.
I want to, you know, again, just because you had previously been a Republican, although I accept that you were a moderate Republican, I think you even supported Barack Obama at one point.
I did. I voted for Obama twice. And then
not a very Republican thing to do at the time.
No, but you know what? His ideas were stronger, and frankly, the fact that Sarah Palin was on the Republican ticket with John McCain, it was untenable for me to support Senator. And I completely supported. You know, I support John McCain, the person. I just didn't like the ticket.
Are there room for moderates in Congress? It seems as if what we have now more than ever is a complete polarization where more and more gather to the extremes and not to the center.
Look, I think not only is there room, there's a need. We have to be moderates. We have to be able to work across the aisle, right? We need to get things done. Washington has got to go back to working for the American people. We've got to get things accomplished. The infrastructure bill, you know, the immigration bill that was hung up because Republicans didn't want to bring the issue forward. There are so many things we need to deal with in this country that are being politicized to the detriment of the American public.
I want to talk about a couple other issues. Let's talk guns. Where do you come down on the issue of the Second Amendment and guns?
I have a weapon. I own a weapon, but my belief is that it should be a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the state is the start of that amendment. And so I believe it should be well regulated. I believe assault weapons are dangerous. I don't believe they belong in the hands of people who are unlicensed and untrained to use them. I don't believe in large magazines being in the hands of people, other than professionals and people in law enforcement. I think we've got to be stronger. You know, the fact is, a society that, when I went to talk to some school children a few months ago, and one of the concerns they brought to my attention was guns in schools. And I thought, you know, a society that can't protect its students is not doing its job. And so we have to step back. And the fact is, if we're not going to regulate, we need to close loopholes. I commend Joe Biden for doing that. We need to close gun show loopholes. We need to ensure that people are safe, that they go to the movie theater, they can go to a bar, they can go to their religious center and not be worried about a loud noise in the back. And we, as electeds, have to do more to defend them. And so I support,
I'm curious. You know, Republicans have basically turned this into a red state. I don't know if you agree with that or not. I don't know if you still think that this is a swing state, but there is an overwhelming Republican advantage in voter registration. Why do you think that is?
Look, I think part of that, frankly, is that people have been disqualified, disqualified from the rolls. So I think when you do the voter, look, if you checked in January 1, I wasn't registered, right? So how many people were not registered, wouldn't have been on the rolls on January 1? So that's the question I have. I believe most people are in the middle. The fact is, I don't believe it's that big a red state. I think there are certainly portions that are redder than others, but I believe Miami-Dade is certainly in play. I've met a lot of Democrats, and I've met a lot of people who are in the middle who believe the state, can still go blue for Joe Biden.
Did you vote for DeSantis in 2018?
No, I did not.
Okay. And I'm assuming you support Joe Biden. Are you concerned at all? The Trump-Biden, what do you think the Trump presidency would mean for this country, a second round?
I fear, and this isn't hyperbole, I fear for democracy. I mean, you look at what happened with January 6th. You look at his attempts to overthrow a fair election. I mean, Republicans have acknowledged that was a fair and well-performed election, and so he's trying to overthrow that. I fear for our democracy going forward.
Mike, I appreciate your coming in, and it was good. I'm glad that we had just a chance to talk, and maybe we'll even schedule a little forum between you and Lucia together. We'll see where that goes.
Well,
all right,
Jim, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.